What is the blockchain? You might have heard that as well. Blockchain is, I'm not going to explain the jargony nerd stuff. Sorry, I was going to do that. I'm not going to do that. The blockchain, the easiest way to think of the blockchain is it's a ledger. And I learned this from one of my colleagues at an investment newsletter I used to write for. It's like a ledger, and it keeps records of every transaction on whatever the asset is. So let's say you have Bitcoin and you sell to somebody, and then they sell to somebody, and then they sell to somebody, blah, 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 blah. It'll keep a ledger of those transactions, encrypted ledger that supposedly is unhackable, which, if anything, is unhackable. The words, and this works for investing, this works for life. If you ever hear the words always or never, be very skeptical. When blockchain first came out, it said it's impossible. That's another one. Impossible to hack. Just literally last week, I think, I saw somebody $614 or $640 million of Bitcoin had been stolen because it'd been hacked. But blockchain is supposed to prevent a lot of that and that kind of fraud, because it keeps the ledger of everything. Again, I'm not going to get into the technical details, frankly, because they're boring and they are incredibly convoluted. So, but that is the overall promise of blockchain. The reason I love blockchain is not necessarily for that, although that's important. I think the blockchain is going to transform our entire world for the better. How? Let's take agriculture. Companies are building out agricultural blockchains right now. So companies can track from the fields and the farms to the transportation, to the stores, to a person's home, allegedly. The entire process of, let's say, a tomato. Why is that important? Because if they can track the entire process of a tomato from the farm to your dinner table, they can track if things are missing. They can track where they went missing, or if they got stolen, who had control of them last. They can also detect when things might be going, when a tomato might be going, being close to going rotten. They might be able to detect if a certain type of tomato, certain strand of tomato type. I'm not sure. I'm not a farmer, so I don't know the terminology. So I'm butchering this. I'm sorry. But a certain type of tomato, they might be able to tell that people are buying that more. So we should produce more of that so we can sell more of that in the stores. There's all sorts of different kinds of things you can tell with the blockchain technology. Plus, it would also prevent more fraud, more waste, more theft, which will, in time, the theory is, decrease prices, increase output of the tomato in this case, on increase output, which will then enable us to become more efficient and feed more people as the world's population continues to grow. These are all great things. And it's already happening. And again, I just use the tomatoes as an example. There are blockchains being built out for the entire range of agricultural products, corn, I think even livestock, all throughout the supply chain. Again, the more efficient a supply chain is, the more profits there are generally, the more you can lower prices, the more output there is, the more productivity there is. Again, that's better for all of us. That's cool. Again, to me. Maybe it's not to you, but it's cool to me. Why that's important, though, is because there are blockchains being built out in pretty much every arena throughout the world. Contracts, defense, finance, which gets us to DeFi in a little bit. For example, let's say you have a mortgage, and you want to buy a house. Instead of the entire 30 to 60 day long process it is now, again, the promise of this, the reason I keep saying the promise or the theory of this is to increase efficiency, increase time, lower costs, all that stuff. The reason I'm saying it's in theory is because a lot of this stuff is still being built out now. it's coming and it's already being implemented. But in finance, let's say you have a mortgage. You want to buy a house instead of the 30, 60 day long process that there is now. Maybe you could speed it up to 5 to 10 days. Again, that's the theory, speeding the entire process up, increasing profitability, increasing output, all that. I think blockchain is going to transform the world in the coming years and decades.